Hi, my name is Zephyr Wildman. I wanted to give you the last of working with the kleshas. These practices are available on my website, zephyryoga.com, available for you to practice on demand at your convenience. This is the last of the week, which means that we are on the klesha of Abhinivesa. Now, this klesha can be quite triggering. It can be very provoking. And if we approach it in a loving, supportive, and way in which we can utilize Kriya Yoga practices that create heat for positive change, Svadhyaya, self-study, understanding, and gaining more self-knowledge around this klesha, and then working with Ishvara Pranadhana, that trusting in the process of life, of handing our life over to the Godhead of our understanding. That may be anything you wish, but it's that sense of practicing the art of surrendering, of trusting, of letting go and letting be. So this is very important to support us when we face this klesha. And this klesha of Abhinivesa is the fear of loss, change, and death. This can be a loss of a job, a change of a relationship status. It could be a death. So when we are facing this fear, it is a suffering that is deep within our instinctual subconscious. It is hardwired to self-preserve, to avoid, and it is deeply embedded in an involvement of this duality to keep us safe from ever facing it. So notice that even in the wise and the naive, even in the educated and the uneducated, we all, when we step up to a cliff edge and peer down 100-meter drop, we all are going to flinch. We all are going to want to step back, and we all are going to probably want to avoid, because facing that fear, our reaction is a natural way we want to stay alive. We don't, it's a part of our autonomic nervous system. It warns us of danger. It warns us of harm. It warns us that this might actually create some suffering. So you should avoid it. So it's an interesting one, this fear of loss, change, and death, because actually it's a part of life. So why are we so afraid of death if it's a part of life? Because everything has a beginning, everything has a middle, and everything has an end. The universe, Big Bang, had a beginning, expands, middle. Science has said that it will eventually contract upon itself and it will have a death. Nature, you see nature grow, beginning, bloom, blossom, life, middle, and then it starts to decay, death. Our thoughts, our emotions, our life circumstances all had a beginning, middle, and end. This too shall pass. So what's so bad about death if it's a part of life? Well, it's your ego, your Ashmita. Oh, why would it want to be evicted from this body? Why would it want to be evicted from this mind that has opinions and beliefs and viewpoints? Why would it want to be evicted from having relationships with my family and friends and my community? Why would it want to lose its students, its Instagram followers? Why would it want to lose its possessions, my pillows? I want to keep those. I want to enjoy those for a lot longer. So it's just this kind of like, as long as we are ignorant of vidya, to the impermanence of things, we will be attached to an ego, Ashmita, that is fueled by raga, addictively craving and attaching to previous experienced pleasures, my pillows, or dvesha, avoidance. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to listen to this stuff. This stuff doesn't sit well. I'm not interested. But this is what fuels this perpetual fear of dying. So it just reinforces this duality. It reinforces me and everything else. I'm all alone in this universe. Separateness of attachment, aversion, like, dislike, pleasure, pain, which just reduces us to who we think we are. And as a few weeks ago when we studied that non-dualistic experience, that yogi said what we truly are, what is our authentic self, is Sat Chitananda. That we awaken and understand that we are not this limited body, we are not this limited mind, emotion, intellect, but what we are and have always been and will always be is this joyful existence of pure consciousness. And it's just chosen this form for this lifetime. And this body has a sell-by date. I don't know when that date is, but it will eventually have an end. But what is consistent is that consciousness. So, as we practice and as we learn, it's natural to forget what we are. And what we're doing is reducing ourselves, contracting in to who we think we are, which causes us further suffering. So our practices are actually starting to wake us up to this inevitable transition into what is next. And who knows what is next? I don't know. Religion has an opinion about that and a belief. Science has a hypothesis, but no one has a fact. No one knows what's on the other side. So again, this is really pointing towards how well do we live when we know that death is a part of life? And considering we don't know as a fact on what's on the other side, how can we live with more grace? So it's one of the teachings, a parigraha, so it's the fifth niyama, and it's to live open-handed, minded, and hearted. So imagine a butterfly comes and lands in your hand, and it's the beginning. And then there's that middle where you are like, wow, look at that butterfly. And you peer in fully present, valuing, learning, understanding everything, entranced in its beauty. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And you're like, hey, come over here and see this butterfly. And all of a sudden you sense it. It's about to end because it's about to take off. And you go, no, wait. And you cling to it. You attach to it. You resist it changing for the fear of losing it. And guess what? You just killed it. Sorry, that was a vicious giggle. So it's like, gosh, how can we live more open-handed, hearted, and minded? Place your job there. Has a beginning, middle, and end. Place your finances there. Oh, okay. Place relationships. Oh. Place yourself. Oh. So starting to see that if we cling to it, that struggle is going to cause more pain and suffering. So we need to learn how to trust, to value, and we need the skills and the tools to refine our ability to be present with what is and to fully treasure it as if it is our last, and to breathe it in while it's present and learn how to let it go when it's time. So this next bit of the conversation is quite triggering. I myself have faced death, and I had to come to terms with possibly dying when I had pneumonia and thought it was my time when I stopped breathing. I lived, But I had to really go back in my life and resolve, find acceptance, rest with great joy, my love for my children. They were just turned 4 and 6, maybe that. And really cherish the life I had. And then I became willing to let go. Unfortunately, it didn't take me. I didn't transition over. But I also have been a part of my late husband's passing, and I watched him transition. And it took a long time for him to accept. And finally, he was willing, and he left peacefully, thank God. So this next bit is quite triggering because this is a philosophy, this is a theory, and this is not necessarily, fact. It's just a theory. And I have to say this as well, is that some of you will hear this and you'll be like, but Zephyr, I haven't received the boxes being ticked of my cultural standard of what life is supposed to be. I haven't gotten the relationship yet. I haven't got the kids. I haven't gotten the house. I haven't got the sports car. I haven't got the Instagram followers. I haven't got, and all of a sudden these things that we think deems a successful life, a purposeful life. And actually, it's an interesting one because really that just shows more of this raga and devesha. Don't want that. I have to fill out the list. So there's a bit of a struggle around this next little bit. So please be open-hearted, minded, and handed to this. So it says that the state of mind at your death determines the state of mind in your next lifetime. Because the yogic philosophy and Buddhist philosophy believes in reincarnation. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But what it's trying to point towards is why yogis practice so much. Because what they're doing is what transfers over is the deeper work of the soul. So we have this physical sheath called the Annamaya Kosha. We have the energetic sheath, Pranamaya Kosha. We have the mental sheath, Manomaya Kosha. So those first 3 sheaths, we as yogis are trying to purify and clear and create transparency. So information can be received to the wisdom body, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and information can be offered quite clearly. And as we conduct our life, making discerning choices from this intuitive knowing, this buddhi, that we then practice deeper forms of contemplation, meditation, and yoga nidra to submerge ourselves, that 8th limb of yogi samadhi, in that absorbed state where we rest in the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. And in this sheath, we lose all self-referencing point. We lose the ability to have an ego. So when you're in there, you don't know where you are. You know you're awake, but you can't place exactly where or who or what it is. Language can't be used in this experience. You've been there when you leave it and you go, oh my gosh, I was there. It was so cool. I want to go back. So yogis want to spend more time in this Anandamaya Kosha as a clear first 3 sheaths, bathing in the wisdom body and sending the information of all their effort and soaking it in that bliss body. And then in that bliss body is your Atman, your soul. And what lights your soul, Purusha, that pure consciousness that lights through the soul, through your Anandamaya Kosha, wisdom body, mental, energetic, physical. That pure consciousness is you and you are it. And it's that joyful experience of pure consciousness embodied. So what transitions over is Anandamaya Kosha and your Atman. So it reincarnates as those 2 sheaths. So you can't take anything else but the work that you do in the deeper work of the soul. So it's said that we're meant to be cultivating at death acceptance as we look back in our life and understand and accept the life that we have led and we have been given. And through this, we heal. Through this, we fall back in love with our life, and we have an opening for forgiveness. Versus the latter, in which we cling, which we grasp, which we fight, which we fear, and which we resist, which is just a suffering I hope no soul has to bear. But we do this in the living. We fear, we worry, we try to control and resist this inevitable change, but we start to see that it only creates more distress, more pain, and more suffering. So as yogis, we pause, we step back and expand our viewpoint, and we start to see that we have no real control over when it is our time. And we trust in the process of life to take care of us. And we trust that when it is our time, we have prepared ourselves through practice to be able to receive with grace as we transition into the next. So we practice calming the kleshas on a daily basis, working on creating that heat, creating that transparency and clarity, understanding ourselves, our thoughts and emotions, our memories, understand why we react, learning how to respond, and that we face the unavoidable change, that we face it. We bravely face it. Instead of fearing it, we go, okay, I'm facing my fears. Now just notice, as you're listening, notice how you feel. You contract in. This is stuff that you're just like, I got symptoms of suffering, Zeph, negative thinking, emotional distress, instability in my body, disturbances in my breath and mind. Those are the 4 symptoms of suffering, that the kleshas are there. And it's just like avidya. I don't want to see this. Ashmita, oh my God, what? I have to give up my body? I don't want to do this. And that aversion, I want to go do a practice with unicorns, rainbows, and fluffy kittens. Yay, let's do that one. And that just perpetuates more of the fear of dying because you're not facing it. So in this practice, and I do this quite a few times a year for the students and myself, is a Buddhist practice. And again, this can be very sensitive because I have students that have terminal cancer. I have students that are facing loved ones who are dying. And I have students that have experienced a death of a loved one. So I know this is quite hard, but this is meant to awaken you to treasure your life. So the practice is, as you receive a document that says in 28 days, you will die. Let that sink in. In 28 days, you're going to die. Would you live differently? Would you change anything in your life? Would you appreciate something differently? Would you pay attention more? Would you risk more? Would you let go more? What would you do? With who? What are you afraid of? It might hurt. Are you afraid of you don't want to lose this body? Your life? Your persona? Your family? Your friends? Are you making the most out of your life? And so as we contemplate this, notice the fragility of life. We all are going to face this. And I had a lovely student in practice, and she has osteoarthritis, and halfway through the class, she had to sit down because it got triggered. And I just said, why don't you practice, but do it mentally? And it's one of the most profound practices you can possibly do, as you are going to have to face illness at one point. and aging. And you're going to have to let go of your practice. It will change. And you might break a leg. You might get MS, Parkinson's, cancer. You might become paralyzed. That loss and change and the death of who you were. Now who are you? So this investment in reinforcing a deeper relationship to what you are is really important. And working with the little death is so important. So as we expand in our life with confidence, security, vitality, courage, we also naturally need to contract back in and gather our resources and go, I need to hibernate. It's winter. And then we expand back in spring and summer and then autumn and winter. It's natural to expand and contract. And we're going to do this in practice. And then we're going to follow the breath in the breath cycle. So we're working with a lot of the Vayu, the direction of energy and breath, and working with different pranayama techniques. So as we inhale, the inhale is you receive life. Your first breath when you are born is an inhale. And it's the receiving of life itself, the beginning, middle, end, and then the transition of life. Then it becomes the decay, the exhale, the letting go, beginning, middle, end, the transition to the death. And then you are reborn into the inhale. Transition, exhale, let go, and let be. Rest in the little death. Rebirth, inhale. And so the breath becomes your teacher. The breath becomes your guide as you courageously start to be guided inwards as thoughts, emotions, sensations, memories, fantasies, catastrophes surface in your practice, that you start to see and feel how the breath can guide you, how it can self-regulate strong intensities, challenging things that will surface. And as you breathe in and breathe out, you see how you learn how to work with the art of surrendering, the art of letting go and letting be. And so this is the path of freedom. And it is one in which you treasure your life. You arrive in moment by moment awareness as if it is your last. And you are fully present. And you treat this moment as sacred. And so notice how you practice. Notice how you live. Notice how you interface with the small, sincere, heartfelt joys that you get to experience in your life. And find that heartfelt gratitude for like, damn, my life is good. Even though I don't have this. That's just cultural conditioning. But what I have, there's a lot. There's a lot. And so celebrate those in breathing them in. So this practice will help us link to our life force that is within your heart. And within your heart opens that truth, that authentic self. And in that truth, you experience the eternal. And in that eternal, which is unending bliss that surrounds you, is within you, as you, that works with you and for you to wake you up to its presence in everything. So I hope you join me in practice. I will make this available, and you're more than welcome to reach out if you have any questions. And I hope to practice with you live in studio or online, or if it needs to, as a recording. I thank you for your support. I thank you for listening. Thank you.